When we talk about discrimination in Nigeria, we often reduce it to tribalism because that is the easiest language to use. So we say something like Yoruba versus Igbo, Igbo versus Hausas, Hausas versus Yorubas, and the argument begins and ends there. But in all these conversations, something far more disturbing is happening quietly. Many tribes are not even mentioned at all. And that silence is not neutrality, it is erasure. It is the loudest form of dismissal. Not to be named is worse than to be insulted because it means you're not even considered important enough to offend. And that is the minority reality. People tread carefully when speaking about three dominant ethnic groups in Nigeria. Words are weighed, statements are guided. Everyone knows there will be consequences. But when it comes to minority tribes, that caution disappears. Nobody filters their words. Nobody worries about backlash. Nobody thinks twice. And that alone tells you everything about how power, visibility, and value are distributed in this country. We talk endlessly about marginalization, about who has produced or hasn't produced a president. And as important as that conversation is, those of us from minority groups are usually forced into a corner, either defend that claim or argue against it. But rarely, if ever, do we stop and ask the most painful question of all: what about us? Not because we don't matter, but because we have been conditioned to believe that we don't exist. That audacity of disrespect. And that brings me to the core of this conversation. In Nigeria today, people can look directly at a minority group and casually say things like they are house helps, they are security guards, they are poorly spoken. And society shrugs. No outrage, no national debate, no emergency press conference. But let those same words be spoken about a majority tribe, and suddenly this country is on fire. And here is the matter at hand. A clergy, Reverend Yinka, a man of God, someone expected to know better, to speak with wisdom, to season his words with grace, made deeply offensive remarks about the people of Akwaibom and at times those from Cross River State. He described them as proud for nothing, ignorant, likened them to crabs in a bucket, linked their poverty to ancestral demons, and reduced common names like Okun to symbol of low status labor. He said if you put Akwaibom people in one room, lock the door and give them the key, not one of them will escape. Now pause for a moment and imagine this being said about any major ethnic groups in Nigeria. Just imagine it. And what makes this even more disturbing is what came after those statements. After describing a people as ignorant, demon-possessed, crabs in a pocket, and proud for nothing, the same pastor still intended to organize a crusade for those same people. A crusade he framed as spiritual rescue, a crusade for the demon-filled, a crusade where he expected over 1 million people, the very people he reduced to stereotypes, to show up, gather, submit, and say amen, give offerings and pay tithe. Think about it. He insulted them, he dehumanized them, pathologized their poverty, and still felt entitled to their land, their crowd, their obedience, and their numbers. But something happened that many of us thought we'd never see. For the first time, to my greatest shock, in Akwaibom State, a system that historically bends over backwards not to offend pastors, drew a clear line. The Akwaibom State government said enough, not quietly, not diplomatically. They called it what it was and cancelled the program. That single had said something powerful without shouting. So this backlash eventually led to the cancellation of his Uyo 1 million crusade, organized by Pastor Yinka Yusuf, after the Akwaibom State government described his comments as vile, denigrating, and inflammatory. Only then did this country eventually remember that minority groups are human beings too. Only then did respect become non-negotiable. And that is the issue. The problem is not just what was said. The problem is how long such things have been said without consequences. The problem is the confidence, the audacity with which people demean minority groups and still feel entitled to their land, their hospitality, and of course, their forgiveness. So, this conversation is not about canceling anyone, it's about tribal supremacy. It is about one simple truth: every Nigerian, majority or minority, has equal dignity, equal rights, and deserves equal respect. Anything less is not culture, it is injustice. It is a truth at a time. Take care and have a nice day.